The morning sun cast long shadows across the mining colony on Kepler 442b when the first Raknari ships appeared in the sky. Commander Taman was drinking his usual cup of warm tea in his office when the alarms began to sound. The peaceful hum of mining equipment suddenly stopped, replaced by the wailing sirens that no one on the colony had ever heard before. Tai-Min rushed to the main control center, where Dr. Sora was already working at the communication panels. Her long fingers moved quickly across the controls, trying to make sense of the readings on her screens. The other Villani workers stood around looking confused and scared. None of them had ever seen anything like this. "What is happening?" Taman asked as he approached Sora's station. So-Ra looked up at him with wide eyes. "Ships, Commander. Many ships. They just appeared from nowhere, and they are not responding to our welcome messages." Taman looked at the main display screen. 12 dark ships hung in the space above their world like angry storm clouds. They were unlike any Confederation vessels he had ever seen. These ships had sharp edges and what looked like weapon ports along their sides. The peaceful species of the Confederation had not built ships like these for thousands of years. "Try sending the standard greeting again," Taman ordered, though his voice was not as steady as usual. So-Ra worked her controls and spoke into the communication device. "Unknown vessels, this is Kepler 442b mining colony. We welcome you to our system. Please identify yourselves and state your purpose." The response came quickly, but it was not what they expected. A harsh voice filled the control room, speaking in broken Confederation common language. "Weak little miners, your world belongs to the Raknari now. Surrender, and you will live as our workers. Fight, and you will die." The Villani in the control room looked at each other with fear. Fighting was not something their people did anymore. They had not fought anyone for over 3,000 years. Their society had grown beyond the need for violence. They built things. They healed things. They made beautiful art and music. War was something they only read about in old history books. Elder Wu Jin entered the control room at that moment. He was the oldest Villani on the colony, over 400 years old, and he had seen many things in his long life. But even he looked worried as he listened to the message from the strange ships. "Elder," Taman said with respect, "what do you know about these Raknari?" Wu Jin's old face grew serious. "I have heard stories. They are nomads who travel from system to system. They take what they want and make slaves of those who cannot fight back. They have been moving through the outer rim for many years now." Dr. Sora checked her instruments again. "Commander, I am reading more ships arriving. 20 now. 30. They are surrounding our planet." Through the large windows of the control center, they could see small ships breaking away from the larger vessels and heading toward the surface. The Raknari were not waiting for an answer to their demands. "Send a message to the Confederation Council," Taman ordered. "Tell them we need help immediately." Sora worked quickly, but after a few minutes, she shook her head. "I cannot get through, Commander. They are blocking our long-range communications somehow." The ground began to shake as the first Raknari ships landed in the valley near the main mining complex. Through the windows, they could see armed figures in dark armor getting out of the ships. The Raknari were tall and strong-looking, with weapons that glowed with energy. They moved like hunters who had found easy prey. "What do we do?" asked one of the younger Villani workers. "We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. We do not even know how to fight." Elder Wu Jin was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then he walked slowly to Sora's communication station. "Dr. Sora, I need you to search the old database. Look for any records of warrior species that might help us." "Elder, the Confederation has no warrior species," Sora replied. "All of our member races are peaceful. War was eliminated from our societies long ago." "Not all species," Wu Jin said quietly. "Search for the restricted files, the ones marked as too dangerous for regular contact." Sora's eyes widened, but she did as the elder requested. Her fingers moved across the controls, accessing files that were normally locked away. As she worked, the sounds of the Raknari moving through the colony grew louder. They were taking control of the mining equipment and rounding up the Volani workers. "Here," Sora said suddenly. "I found something. There is a file about a species called humans. They come from a planet called Earth. But Elder, this file is marked with severe warnings. It says they are from a death world and are considered extremely dangerous." Wu Jin nodded slowly. "What else does it say?" Sora read from her screen. "It says they were contacted once, about 60 years ago. The first meeting went well, but when the council learned more about their world and their history, they decided it was too risky to include them in the Confederation. The file says they are warriors by nature and that their entire planet is designed to create fighters." "Do we have their location?" Wu Jin asked. "Yes, Elder. The Sol system. It is not too far from here, maybe 15 days by fast ship." Outside, they could hear Raknari soldiers getting closer to the control building. Their harsh voices were giving orders to the captured Volani workers. "Elder," Taman said urgently, "even if these humans are warriors, why would they help us? According to this file, the Confederation rejected them. They might not even answer our call." Wu Jin looked out the window at the Raknari ships and the frightened Volani being herded into groups. His old eyes were sad but determined. "Because, Commander, sometimes the people you push away are the only ones who can save you when real danger comes." The building shook as Raknari soldiers began, trying to break down the main doors. Sora looked at her communication equipment with worry. "If I send a message to this Earth, I will have to use all of our emergency power. We will only get one chance." "Then make it count," Elder Wu Jin said firmly. So-Ra took a deep breath and began working on the message. She explained who they were, where they were, and what was happening to them. She told them about the Raknari and how the peaceful species of the Confederation had no way to fight back. She asked for help, even though she knew the humans had no reason to answer. As she finished the message, the doors to the control room finally broke open. Raknari soldiers in dark armor stormed in, their weapons raised. The lead soldier, bigger than the others, looked around at the Volani with cruel eyes. "You are now property of War Chief Thaklan," the soldier announced. "You will work for us or you will die. Choose quickly." Elder Wu Jin stepped forward, showing no fear despite his age. "We are a peaceful people. We mean you no harm." The Raknari soldier laughed. "Peaceful? Good. Peaceful slaves work better than angry ones." As the Raknari began to take control of the facility, Sora quietly finished sending the message to Earth. She had no idea if anyone would receive it, or if they would care enough to respond. All she could do was hope that somewhere in the galaxy, there were still people who would come to help those who could not help themselves. The message traveled through space at faster than light speed, carrying with it the desperate hope of an entire colony. It was a simple message from a peaceful people to a species they had never met, asking for help from those their own leaders had called too dangerous to know. What they did not realize was that they had just contacted the one species in the galaxy that would drop everything to help strangers in need, even strangers who had rejected them before. Admiral Hyun-Soo was reviewing patrol reports in his office aboard the space station orbiting Earth when the priority alert came through. The red lights began flashing and the emergency tone sounded 3 times, which meant incoming distress signal from outside human space. This had never happened before. The Admiral was a man who had seen many battles on Earth before humanity reached the stars. His face carried the scars of the resource wars, and his eyes held the steady look of someone who had made hard decisions and lived with them. He pressed the communication button on his desk. "This is Admiral Hyun-Soo. Report." "Sir, we have received a distress signal from the Kepler 442 system," came the voice of Communications Officer Park. "The message is from a Volani colony requesting immediate military assistance against something called the Raknari Horde." Hyun-Soo sat up straighter in his chair. The Volani were part of the Galactic Confederation, the same group that had politely told humanity to stay in their own corner of space 60 years ago. They had made it very clear that humans were too violent and unpredictable to join their peaceful alliance. "Put the message through to my office," the Admiral ordered. A few moments later, The desperate voice of Dr. Sora filled his office. As he listened to her describe the attack on their colony, Hyun-soo felt the old familiar feeling in his chest. It was the same feeling he had gotten during the wars on Earth when innocent people were in danger and needed help. When the message finished, Hyun-soo immediately called his senior staff to the briefing room. Within 10 minutes, Captain Da-eun, Lieutenant Commander Seok-ho, Chief Engineer Yu-na, and Sergeant Major Gi-tae were sitting around the large table. Captain Da-eun was the first to speak. She was a small woman with quick eyes and fast reflexes, who had earned her reputation leading the Iron Tiger's squadron in the asteroid belt conflicts. Sir, the Raknari Horde. We have been tracking them for 3 years. They are raiders who attack weak targets and avoid anyone who can fight back. Lieutenant Commander Seok-ho opened his datapad and began reading. He was the human expert on alien cultures and military tactics. The Raknari use fear and surprise as their main weapons. They have maybe 50 ships total, but they are not well armed by our standards. Their tactics work against peaceful species who have no military experience. Chief Engineer Yu-na, who had designed many of the weapon systems on the human fleet, looked at the tactical data. Their ships are old designs, probably stolen from different sources. Nothing our shields cannot handle. Sergeant Major Gi-tae, the tough leader of the Marine Orbital Drop Division, had been quiet during the briefing. Finally, he spoke. Sir, permission to speak freely. Go ahead, Sergeant Major. These Confederation people told us we were too dangerous to be their friends. Now they want us to save them. Some of the crew might wonder why we should help people who rejected us. Admiral Hyun-soo looked around the table at his officers. These were good people who had dedicated their lives to protecting others. He knew what his answer would be, but he wanted them to understand the choice they were making. You are right, Gi-tae. They did reject us. They looked at our history, saw all the wars we had fought on Earth, and decided we were too violent for their peaceful galaxy. What they did not understand is that we fought those wars because we had to, not because we wanted to. The Admiral stood and walked to the large window that looked out at Earth. The blue planet hung in space like a jewel, but Hyun-soo knew that beneath its beauty was a world that had created the toughest species anyone had ever seen. Earth made us strong because it tried to kill us every day, he continued. The storms, the predators, the diseases, the natural disasters. We learned to fight because we had no choice. But we also learned something else that these peaceful species never had to learn. We learned that strength without purpose is just destruction. Captain Da-eun nodded. Sir, are you saying we should help them? I am saying we should help them because it is the right thing to do, not because they asked nicely, not because they finally need us, but because people are in danger and we have the power to save them. Seok-ho looked at his reports again. Admiral, if we move fast, we can be there in 10 days. The Raknari will not expect any resistance, especially not from humans. They probably do not even know we exist. What kind of force should we take? Asked Yu-na. Admiral Hyun-soo thought for a moment. He did not want to send so many ships that it looked like an invasion, but he wanted to send enough to handle the Raknari completely. We will take the Third Fleet. 12 heavy cruisers, 48 destroyers, 6 carrier ships, and the dreadnoughts Incheon and Busan. Gi-tae whistled softly. Sir, that is enough firepower to level a continent. Yes, but we will not be leveling anything. Our job is to remove the Raknari threat with as little bloodshed as possible. These are not our enemies, they are just bullies who need to be taught better manners. Captain Da-eun stood up. When do we leave, Admiral? Immediately. I want all ships ready to depart within 6 hours. Captain Da-eun, you will have tactical command. Seok-ho, I want a full analysis of Raknari psychology and culture. If we can make them surrender without a fight, that would be better for everyone. As his officers began to file out of the briefing room to prepare for departure, Admiral Hyun-soo looked out at Earth one more time. Humanity had spent 60 years building their space fleet and training their crews, always wondering if they would ever get a chance to prove that being strong did not mean being evil. Now that chance had come from the most unexpected source. 3 hours later, the massive human fleet began moving out of Earth orbit. The ships were sleek and deadly, painted in the dark blue and silver of the Terran Defense Force. Each vessel carried weapons that could crack open asteroids and armor that could withstand direct hits from plasma cannons. But more importantly, each ship carried humans who had grown up on a world that taught them to be tough, to be smart, and to never give up when someone needed help. As the fleet entered hyperspace and began the journey to Kepler 442b, Admiral Hyun-soo sat in his command chair and thought about the message they had received. Dr. Sora had sounded so frightened and desperate when she asked for help. She probably did not even know if humans would receive her message, much less respond to it. Captain Dayun approached his chair. "Admiral, the crew is asking questions about the mission. Some of them remember the stories about how the Confederation rejected us." "What are you telling them?" "The truth, sir. That we are going to help people who need help. That is what humans—" Admiral Hyun-soo nodded. "That is exactly right, Captain. Send a message to all ships. Tell them that today we show the galaxy what it means to be human. We do not help people because they ask nicely. We do not help people because they are our friends. We help people because they need help, and we can provide it." As the human fleet traveled through hyperspace toward the Kepler system, none of them knew that they were about to change the way the entire galaxy thought about Earth and its people. The Confederation had seen humans as too dangerous to include in their peaceful society. They were about to learn that sometimes, when real danger comes, the only thing that can save you is someone who is even more dangerous than your enemies, but who chooses to use that danger to protect instead of destroy. Dr. Sora had been working in the mine shafts for 8 days when the sensors detected something new in space. The Raknari had put all the Villani to work extracting rare minerals from deep underground. The work was hard and dangerous. Nothing like the careful mining operations the Villani had run before. 3 workers had already been injured when unstable tunnels collapsed. She was checking the air quality in Tunnel 7 when her hidden communication device started beeping softly. Sora had managed to keep one small scanner hidden in her tool kit, and she used it to monitor space around their planet whenever she could. What she saw on the tiny screen made her heart race. Ships were appearing at the edge of their solar system. Lots of ships. But these were not Raknari vessels. Commander Tai Min was working nearby, carrying heavy containers of mineral ore. Sora caught his attention and showed him the scanner. His eyes went wide when he saw the readings. "Whose ships are those?" he whispered. "I do not know," Sora replied quietly. "But they are not in any Confederation database. They are completely unknown." Above them, in the space around Kepler 442b, the Raknari were also detecting the new arrivals. War Chief Thak Lon was on his command ship when his sensor officer reported the contacts. "How many ships?" Thak Lon demanded. He was a huge Raknari, with scars covering his arms and face. He had led the Horde for 10 years, and no one had ever dared to challenge him. 68 ships, War Chief. They just appeared from hyperspace." Thak Lon looked at the tactical display. The new ships were arranged in perfect military formation, moving toward his fleet with steady confidence. Their design was unlike anything in the Raknari database. "Send them a warning message," Thak Lon ordered. "Tell them this system is under Raknari control and they should leave immediately." The communication was sent, but there was no immediate response from the unknown fleet. Instead, the ships continued their approach, maintaining perfect formation and steady speed. On the human flagship, Admiral Hyun-soo was studying the tactical situation. The Raknari had positioned their ships in a loose circle around the planet, with several smaller vessels on the surface. It was a typical occupation formation, designed to control space and prevent anyone from leaving the planet. "Captain Da-yoon, what is your assessment?" the Admiral asked. Captain Da-yoon looked at her tactical display and shook her head. "Sir, they are positioned like amateurs. No overlapping fields of fire, no backup positions, no coordination between their ship groups. This is going to be easier than we thought." Lieutenant Commander Seokho was monitoring the Raknari communications. "Admiral, they just sent us a warning to leave the system. Should I respond?" "Not yet. Let them wonder who we are for a few more minutes. Fear is a useful tool when dealing with bullies." Chief Engineer Yuna was running final checks on all ship systems. All vessels report ready, Admiral. Weapons are charged, shields are up, and all fighter squadrons are prepared for launch. Sergeant Major Gitai was in the Marine Bay with his troops. Sir, my drop teams are ready if we need to board their ships or go to the planet's surface. Admiral Hyun-Soo nodded to his communications officer. Open a channel to the Raknari Command ship. A moment later, the harsh face of War Chief Thaklon appeared on the main screen. He was clearly angry and trying to look threatening. I am War Chief Thaklon of the Raknari Horde, he growled. This system belongs to us now. Leave immediately, or be destroyed. Admiral Hyun-Soo stood up slowly from his command chair. He was not as big as the Raknari leader, but there was something in his calm manner that made Thaklon pause. I am Admiral Hyun-Soo of the Terran Defense Force, he said in a steady voice. You have attacked a peaceful colony and enslaved innocent people. You have 30 seconds to withdraw all your forces from this system. Thaklon laughed loudly. Terrans? I have never heard of you. Are you some new Confederation species? It does not matter. We have taken this world and we will keep it. If you try to stop us, we will add your ships to our fleet and your people to our slaves. Admiral Hyun-Soo looked at the Raknari leader with the same calm expression. 20 seconds. You dare threaten the Raknari Horde? Thaklon shouted. We have conquered 100 worlds. We fear nothing. 10 seconds, the Admiral said quietly. Thakdashlon was about to respond when his sensor officer called out in alarm. War Chief, they are targeting us. All of their ships have weapons locked onto our vessels. The human fleet had moved into attack formation with smooth precision. Each Raknari ship found itself targeted by multiple human vessels. The humans had superior numbers, superior positioning, and superior technology. 5 seconds. Admiral Hyun-Soo said, Fire on them, Thaklon screamed. Destroy these arrogant fools. Your time is up, the Admiral said, and nodded to Captain Yoon. What happened next was not really a battle. It was a demonstration of the difference between raiders who picked on the weak and a military force that had trained for real warfare. Captain Daeyoon's Iron Tiger squadron hit the Raknari ships with precision strikes that disabled their weapons without destroying the vessels. The human pilots flew their fighters through the Raknari formation, like they were dancing, avoiding enemy fire that seemed slow and clumsy compared to their movements. Lieutenant Commander Seok-ho coordinated the fleet movements, ensuring that no Raknari ship could escape while also preventing any friendly fire incidents. The human ships moved like they were connected by invisible strings, each one knowing exactly where the others would be. Chief Engineer Yuna watched her weapon systems perform perfectly. The human weapons were designed to disable rather than destroy when possible, and they were doing exactly what they were built to do. On War Chief Thaklon's ship, chaos ruled. Half his weapons were offline, his shields were failing, and his engines were damaged. Around him, the rest of the Raknari fleet was in the same condition. Ships that had terrorized peaceful colonies for months were being taken apart piece by an enemy they had never heard of. How are they doing this? Thaklon demanded. Our ships should be stronger than theirs. His tactical officer looked terrified. War Chief, their weapons are more advanced than anything in our database, and their pilots. They move like they can predict what we will do before we do it. On the planet's surface, Dr. Sora and Commander Taemin watched the battle through her hidden scanner. The Raknari guards had run outside to look at the sky, where flashes of light showed the space battle happening above them. Who are they? Taemin whispered in amazement. Dr. Sora was checking the scanner readings and comparing them to her database. Suddenly she gasped. Commander, I think these might be the humans, the ones from the restricted files. Above them, the space battle was ending as quickly as it had begun. Every Raknari ship was disabled or surrendering. The few that tried to run found their escape routes blocked by human vessels that seemed to appear exactly where they needed to be. Admiral Hyun-Soo opened communications to all Raknari ships. This is Admiral Hyun-Soo. Your aggressive actions against peaceful people are over. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that continues to resist will be destroyed. War Chief Thak Lan looked around his damaged bridge. His crew was injured and all his weapons were gone. The humans had beaten his entire fleet in less than 2 hours. "We surrender," he said quietly into the communication device. Sergeant Major Gite led the boarding parties onto the Rachnari ships. His Marines moved through the vessels with calm efficiency, securing prisoners and checking for wounded. They treated even the Rachnari with more care than the raiders had shown their victims. As the last Rachnari ship was secured, Admiral Hyun Soo opened a communication channel to the planet's surface. "This is the Terran Defense Force. The Rachnari threat has been eliminated. All hostages are safe and will be freed immediately." On the surface, Dr. Sora could hardly believe what had happened. The species that the Confederation had rejected as too dangerous had just saved them all, and they had done it with a combination of overwhelming force and careful restraint that showed they were nothing like the violent savages the Confederation files had described. The humans had not come to conquer or demand payment. They had come because someone needed help, and they had the power to provide it. Dr. Sora stood in the main control room of the colony, watching as human soldiers worked to repair the damage the Rachnari had caused. The humans moved with quiet efficiency, fixing equipment and helping injured Villani without being asked. It was hard to believe these were the same people the Confederation had called too dangerous to know. Commander Taemin was speaking with a human officer who had introduced herself as Lieutenant Kim. She was explaining how they would help get the colony back to normal operation. "We have medical supplies on our ships," Lieutenant Kim was saying. "Our doctors can treat anyone who was hurt during the occupation. We also have engineering teams that can help repair your mining equipment." "Why are you helping us so much?" Taemin asked. "Your people could have just driven off the Rachnari and left." "Lieutenant," Kim looked surprised by the question. "Sir, that is not how humans work. When we help someone, we help them completely. It would be wrong to save you from the Rachnari and then leave you with broken equipment and injured people." Elder Wu Jin was watching the humans work from his chair near the main display. At over 400 years old, he had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. These humans fought like demons when they needed to, but now they were as gentle as any Confederation species. A large human in military uniform approached the elder and bowed respectfully. "Elder Wu Jin, I am Admiral Hyun Soo of the Terran Defense Force. I wanted to thank you for contacting us." Wu Jin studied the Admiral's face. It was a strong face with kind eyes marked by old scars that told of battles fought long ago. "Admiral, I must ask you something that has been troubling me. Why did you come to help us? According to our records, the Confederation rejected your people many years ago." Admiral Hyun Soo sat down in a chair across from the elder. "That is true. Your leaders looked at our history and decided we were too violent to join your peaceful alliance. They were not completely wrong. Humans have fought many wars both on our world and in space." "Then why help us?" Wu Jin asked. "You had no reason to care what happened to us." The Admiral was quiet for a moment, thinking about his answer. "Elder, do you know what a death world is?" "I have heard the term. It means a planet that is dangerous to live on." "Earth is more than dangerous," Admiral Hyun Soo explained. "Everything on our world is designed to kill us. The weather can freeze you or burn you to death. The animals are faster and stronger than humans. The plants can poison you just by touching them. Even the air can kill you if you go to the wrong places." Dr. Sora had been listening to the conversation while she worked at her communication station. "Admiral, if your world is so dangerous, how did your people survive?" "We learned to work together," the Admiral replied. "One human alone on Earth will die quickly, but humans in groups can survive anything our world throws at them. We learned that the strong must protect the weak, because someday you might be the weak one who needs protection." Elder Wu Jin nodded slowly. "I see. So when you heard our call for help, you could not ignore it." "Exactly. It does not matter that the Confederation rejected us. It does not matter that we had never met you before. You needed help and we could provide it. That is reason enough for humans." Captain Da-un entered the control room at that moment. She had just finished overseeing the cleanup of the Rachnarii ships. "Admiral, we have finished processing the prisoners. War Chief Thak Lon wants to speak with you." "What does he want?" Admiral Hyun-soo asked. "He says he wants to understand how we defeated his fleet so easily. I think he is having trouble accepting that anyone could be that much stronger than the Rachnarii." The Admiral stood up. "Bring him here. I think it would be good for our hosts to hear what he has to say." A few minutes later, Sergeant Major Gite brought War Chief Thak Lon into the control room. The huge Rachnarii was in restraints, but he did not look angry anymore. Instead, he looked confused and maybe a little frightened. "You wanted to speak with me?" Admiral Hyun-soo asked. Thak-Lon looked around the room at the humans and Villani working together to repair the damage he had caused. "I do not understand you people. We have never heard of humans before today. Where did you come from? How did you learn to fight like that?" "We come from a world that taught us to fight or die," the Admiral replied simply. "But more importantly, it taught us what is worth fighting for. The Rachnarii horde has conquered over 100 worlds," Thak Lon said. "We are feared throughout this entire sector of space. Yet you defeated us like we were children playing with toys." Lieutenant Commander Seok Ho stepped forward. "War Chief, may I ask you a question? In all those worlds you conquered, did any of them fight back?" Thak Lon looked surprised. "Fight back? They were peaceful species. Miners and farmers and artists. They had no weapons, no soldiers. That is why we chose them." "Exactly," Seok Ho said. "You have spent your entire military career fighting people who could not fight back. You never learned what real warfare looks like." Dr. Sora was working at her communications station when an alert came through. "Admiral, I am receiving messages from the Confederation Council. They want to know what happened here." Admiral Hyun-soo looked at the display. "What are they saying?" "They are confused, sir. The Council received reports about unknown ships in this system. They want to send investigators to find out who was responsible for defeating the Rachnarii." Elder Woo-jin chuckled softly. "I think the Confederation is about to get quite a surprise." Captain Da-un approached the Admiral. "Sir, I have been thinking about something that bothers me. We defeated the Rachnarii so easily. What if there are other threats out there that are actually dangerous? Are we preparing for the right kind of enemies?" It was a good question, and Admiral Hyun-soo had been wondering the same thing. "Captain, send a message to Earth. Tell them to expand our deep space monitoring. I want to know about every species within 100 light-years of human space." "Yes, sir," Captain Da-un replied. War-Chief Thak Lon had been listening to the conversation. "Admiral, may I tell you something that might interest you?" "Go ahead." "The Rachnarii have been moving through this sector because we were running from something. There are reports of ships coming from the deep space beyond the rim. Ships that make the Rachnarii look like peaceful traders." The room went quiet. Dr. Sora stopped working at her station and turned to look at the Rachnarii leader. "What kind of ships?" Admiral Hyun-soo asked. "We do not know. The few survivors who escaped described vessels that were completely black and seemed to absorb light. They did not try to conquer worlds like we do. They destroyed everything and moved on." Elder Woo-jin's face had gone pale. "Admiral, there are old stories in our archives. Ancient legends about something called the Void Swarm. We always thought they were just myths meant to frighten children." Lieutenant Commander Seok Ho was already working on his datapad. "Sir, I am checking our long-range sensors. If there is something moving through this sector, we might be able to detect it." As the humans and Villani worked together to investigate this new threat, none of them noticed the small display screen that Dr. Sora had been monitoring. Far out at the edge of their sensor range, dark shapes were moving between the stars. The Rachnarii had been running from something much worse than themselves. And now that something had noticed the bright flashes of the battle that had just ended, Admiral Hyun-soo looked around the room at the mix of humans and aliens working together. "It looks like we might be needed again soon. Dr. Sora, can you send a message to the Confederation Council? Tell them that humanity formally requests a meeting to discuss mutual defense." Dr. Sora nodded and began preparing the message. As she worked, she realized that everything was about to change. The Confederation had spent 60 years avoiding the humans because they were too dangerous. Now they were going to learn that in a dangerous galaxy, having dangerous friends might be the only thing that could save them all. The Great Assembly Hall on Confederation Central had never seen anything like this meeting. Representatives from all 12 Confederation species sat in their traditional seats, but for the first time in their history, they were joined by aliens, who had been specifically excluded from their alliance. Admiral Hyun-soo stood at the speaker's platform, wearing the dress uniform of the Terran Defense Force. Behind him sat Captain Da-eun, Lieutenant Commander Seok-ho, and Dr. Sora, who had asked to attend as a witness to what the humans had done for her people. High Counselor Vel-Anna of the Altarian Council called the session to order. She was an elegant being with pale blue skin and large eyes that showed her nervousness about this unprecedented meeting. We have gathered today to discuss the recent events in the Kepler 442 system, she began formally. Admiral Hyun-soo of the human species, you and your forces intervened in an attack on one of our colonies. We are grateful for your assistance, but we must understand your intentions. Admiral Hyun-soo looked around the assembly hall. Many of the alien representatives were staring at him with curiosity and fear. Others seemed fascinated by the human's appearance and manner. High Counselor, our intentions are simple. We received a distress call and we responded. We eliminated the threat and helped the victims recover. Now we are offering to help protect other Confederation worlds from similar attacks. Counselor Thekmore of the Benaran Assembly stood up. He was a tall, thin being with a worried expression. Admiral, our records show that humanity was evaluated for Confederation membership 60 years ago. The decision was made that your species was too aggressive and militaristic for our peaceful alliance. What has changed? Nothing has changed? About humanity, Admiral Hyun-soo replied calmly. We are still the same species you evaluated before. We still come from a dangerous world and we still maintain a strong military. What has changed is your situation. You now face threats that your peaceful nature cannot handle alone. Dr. Sora stood up from her seat. High Counselor, may I speak? Of course, Dr. Sora, you were present during the Raknari attack. Dr. Sora walked to the center of the hall. Honored representatives, I was there when the Raknari came. I saw how helpless we were against them. We had no weapons, no soldiers, no knowledge of warfare. We would have been enslaved or killed if the humans had not come. She turned to face Admiral Hyun-soo. But I also saw how the humans fought. Yes, they were deadly and efficient in battle. But after the fighting was over, they were gentle and caring. They helped our wounded, repaired our equipment, and treated even the Raknari prisoners with respect. Counselor Yun-ara of the Felisan Federation spoke up. Dr. Sora, are you saying that humans can be both warriors and peacekeepers? I am saying that humans understand something we have forgotten, Dr. Sora replied. They know that sometimes you must be strong to protect those who cannot protect themselves. They choose when to use their strength and when to show mercy. Elder Wu Jin, who had also made the journey to Confederation Central, stood up slowly. I am over 400 years old. I have lived through the entire history of our peaceful alliance, but I have learned something in these past weeks that troubles me. The assembly hall grew very quiet as the ancient Villani continued. We became peaceful by removing all violence from our societies. We thought this made us civilized. But when real violence came to us, we were helpless. The humans became peaceful by learning to control their violence, not eliminate it. When evil came to them, they were ready. Lieutenant Commander Seok-ho approached the platform. High Counselor, may I present some information that might be relevant to this discussion? Please, proceed, Commander. Seok-ho activated a holographic display that showed a star map of the local sector. Our long-range sensors have detected large ship formations moving through deep space beyond the rim. Based on information from captured Raknari, these may be the void swarm that appears in your ancient legends. The assembly hall erupted in concerned whispers. High Counselor Vel-Anna called for order. Commander Seok-ho, What can you tell us about these ships? Very little, High Counselor. They appear to be completely black and seem to absorb sensor beams instead of reflecting them. They do not respond to communication attempts. Based on the path they are taking, they will reach Confederation space within 6 months. Captain Daun stood up. High Counselor, the human fleet is prepared to help defend Confederation worlds against this threat. But we cannot do it alone. We need your technology, your knowledge of the galaxy, and your cooperation. Counselor Thekmore looked worried. Captain, what exactly are you proposing? Admiral Hyun-soo stepped forward again. We propose the Guardian Protocol. Humanity will provide military protection for Confederation worlds in exchange for full membership in your alliance. We will share our military knowledge with you, and you will share your peaceful technologies with us. What guarantees do we have that humans will not use our technology for aggressive purposes? Asked Counselor Yoon-Ara. Dr. Sora answered before the Admiral could respond. Counselor, they could have demanded anything from us after saving our Yuri colony. Instead, they asked for nothing. They could have taken our mining equipment, our rare minerals, our technology. Instead, they helped us rebuild. What more guarantee do you need? High Counselor Velana was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Admiral Hyun-soo, if we agree to this alliance, what changes would you make to your military? We would create joint, human Confederation training programs, the Admiral replied. We would teach your people basic self-defense and military tactics, not to make them warriors, but to give them options when facing threats. And we would build combined fleets, Captain, Dayun added. Human ships with Confederation science vessels. Human soldiers working alongside your engineers and doctors. Each species contributing their strengths to protect everyone. Elder Wu Jin stood up again. High Counselor, I request permission to share something from our ancient archives. Please proceed, Elder. The old Villani walked to the center of the hall. There is an old saying in our history. The flower grows beautiful because the tree is strong. We forgot that wisdom. We became flowers without trees, beautiful but fragile. He looked around the assembly. The humans offer to be our tree, not to overshadow us, but to give us the strength to grow safely. Counselor Thekmore stood up. I call for a vote, all in favor of accepting humanity into the Confederation under the Guardian Protocol. One by one, the representatives of the 12 Confederation species stood up. It was unanimous. High Counselor Velana smiled for the first time since the meeting began. Admiral Hyun-soo, on behalf of the Galactic Confederation, I welcome humanity as our 13th member species. 3 weeks later, Captain Da-eun stood on the bridge of the new ship TCS Unity, the first vessel to be jointly crewed by humans and Confederation species. Dr. Sora was her science officer, and Sergeant Major Gite was training a mixed squad of human Marines and Villani volunteers. Captain, called Lieutenant Siako from his communication station, we are receiving a priority message from long-range sensors. The Void Swarm has accelerated their approach. They will be here in 2 weeks instead of 6 months. Captain Dayun looked at the mixed crew working together on her bridge. Humans and aliens preparing to face an unknown threat as allies instead of strangers. Send a message to Admiral Hyun-soo, she ordered. Tell him the real test of our new alliance is about to begin. Chief Engineer Yuna, who was working with a team of Benaran technicians on the ship's new hybrid weapon systems, looked up from her console. Captain, our combined technologies are working better than anyone expected. Human durability with Confederation precision. We might actually have a chance against whatever is coming. Dr. Sora turned from her science station. Captain, I am detecting energy signatures at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts, all black as space itself. Battle stations, Captain Dayun ordered. All crew to combat positions. Signal the fleet that the Void Swarm has arrived. As alarms sounded, throughout the ship, humans and aliens worked side by side to prepare for battle. The peaceful species of the Confederation had learned that sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to be ready for war. Commander Taemin, now wearing human-designed armor and carrying a weapon for the first time in his life, stood next to Sergeant Major Gite in the Marine Bay. Are you ready for this? Gite asked. Tai-Min looked at the approaching darkness on the tactical display and nodded. We have the best teachers in the galaxy. As the combined fleet moved to intercept the Void Swarm, Admiral Hyun-Soo sent a final message to all ships. Today we fight not as humans or Volani or Altarians, but as one people protecting our homes. Show them what we can accomplish when the strong choose to protect instead of conquer. The battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin, and for the first time in their history, the peaceful species of the Confederation were not facing it alone.